Hello, boys and girls. We're going to talk really quickly today about how to find the average of a set of data. And so we're going to go ahead and fold our paper into, we're actually just going to fold our paper. I think we only have 4 sections, so we're just going to divide our paper into 4. We're going to go ahead and write our name in the top corner. And so today we're going to do lesson 5.1. And we're going to do pages 184 to 188. Okay. So we're looking at finding the average of a number. And we have a little problem here which does a really good job explaining average. So Andrew has 4 shells. Beth has 9. Cynthia has 8 shells altogether. And if all the shells are shared equally with the children, how many shells would each child get? So if we were to actually look at this problem and use some tiny cubes, I'm just grabbing a little container of tiny cubes. If we were to actually set this problem up and we said that Andrew has 4, right? So here's Andrew, and then Beth has 9. And then Cynthia has 8. One more. So if these were to represent the shells, and we were to take these and divide them evenly amongst the children, what we would do is we would add them all together, right? So we're adding them all together into one big pot. And then what we would do is we would divide them. There are 3 kids, so we would have to divide them into 3 groups, right? So we would have to say, and I like to sometimes do it by 2s. 2, 4, 6. Boom. 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 So far each one has 3. 3 plus 3, so each one has 6. And then we have enough to put one more at each group, right? So we would end up with every person having 7 shells, right? And then they would be divided evenly. So what we're doing basically when we find the average of a number is we're adding all of the data, which we did. We added it all together. Remember I said we put it in a big mush pot? We add it together, and then we divide it by the number of groups we want, right? So the total number of little cubes get divided by the number of children number of groups that we're putting the shells in, right? Or the number of children, okay? So we could write that out. We could talk about how we did that, and we could say that we took 4 plus 9 plus 8 equals 21. And then what we did is we took 21 divided by 3, and that equals 7, right? So in other words, this is the total number of shells divided by number of children. And that's how we find the average of a number. And so that's typically the way that we look for the average in a set of data, okay? So unfortunately, you are not here in class. We usually do some activities where I give you guys cubes because I have a whole bunch of these. And usually I give you some cubes and I give you some as an assignment to find the average. And you're not here right now, so we can't really do that. But we're going to do a couple just on our own. In the book, there's this hands-on activity right here. And so we're going to do the hands-on activity for just a second. So we're going to use these interconnecting cubes. And we have 2 cubes. One person has 2. One person has 5. Right? So we have 2 and 5. And then another person has 8. And I'm going to have to use another color because I couldn't find a whole bunch of brown ones. So if we had this and we wanted to find the average, right? We have one person that has 2, we have one person that has 5, and we have one person that has 8. What we would do is we would add them all together, right? So we add this whole number together, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And we call that 15 divided by 3 because we want to put it into 3 groups. So we would write it out 15 divided by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a couple of these and put them on here. And I have to, when I'm dividing, I have to divide evenly. And that divided nice and evenly. So each group has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So the average would be 5, right? So another way of saying that is to say that the average equals the total amount divided by the number of items. Okay? So if we were to do a similar problem again, let's divide it. Let's do another one of these problems and we'll write it right down here because I think these are really good for you to actually think about the average and think about how to find the average. So if we had this many, hang on just a second, I'm trying to separate cubes here. So let's say that I gave you this as a problem. One person had this. Another person had this. Another person had this. And another person had this. So this time we have 4 groups, right? So we're going to say that average, let's write it out. We'll say average equals total amount. So what's our total amount? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And we have 4 groups, right? So the average is going to be, let's see if we put a couple more in here. And we want to make them line up. So now we have, how many in each group? We have 5, right? So the average number, we added them all together and then we divided it into groups and we ended up getting 5, right? Let's try one more. We'll throw a couple of other colors in here to make it a little bit bigger. Neighbors are having a hootenanny. They're like listening to loud music. So if we took Oop, I'm running out of cubes. Okay, so that means we have to do this problem because I didn't have enough cubes to do it evenly. So if we took let's say that we took this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. And we wanted to find the average number. What we would do is we would clump them all together, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So if we have average equals 25, and we're dividing it into 5 groups, that means that each one, we'd have to add more to this little guy, right, to make the little guy as tall as all the other ones. And we'd end up with 5 in each group, right? So the average would be 5. All right? So it's kind of handy to use Unifix cubes to figure that out. If we had bigger numbers, we could use this. So let's say that we have a row. These are a little bit easier to use because they don't unhook. You can just line them up. So let's say that we have this problem. And we have, let me count them out. Total together we have okay. So let's say that we have this number. We have 1, 2, and then we have 4, and then we have this many here. And I want to eventually have 6 groups, right? So now I have 6 groups. So if I wanted to figure out the average, I want to have 6 groups. So the first thing I'm going to do, remember that always the average is going to equal the total over the groups. And I have 6 groups. So I'm going to figure out how many I have altogether total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So if I have 24, then I'm going to figure out how many I would have to put into, I'd have to add a lot more to that group, right? I'd have to add some to this group, right? So I would end up with 4 in each group because the groupings would have to be equal. So the average equals 4. So basically what we're doing every time we find the average, we're finding the total, and then we're dividing by the number of items, right? Okay, so let's look at a real world problem. We have a little chart, and we're going to draw the little chart on number 1. So I have 4 people that sold stickers, and I'm just going to make my chart really quick. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I have this, and this is the name, and this is the number of stickers. And this is the charity, the stickers that are sold for charity. So I'm just basically copying the chart out of the book. I have Abe. I have Betty. I'm going to get up and close the door because the neighbors are just blasting music, and I can't really think straight when I can't do math when people are blasting music. Okay, sorry about that. Coming back. Here I am. Okay, and then we have Carlo and Diana. Carlo and Diana. Okay, so Abe has 12, Betty has 20, Carlo has 16, and Diana has 28. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the total number of stickers, right? So we're going to add up and we'll find the total. So if I can add these in chunks. I can say, let's take 28 plus 12. And then we're going to add 20 plus 16. This is going to be 40 in this chunk. And 20 plus 16 is 36. And so that equals 76. So I have a total of 76 stickers. And then what I'm going to do is I have to figure out the average number. So I'm going to take my total stickers sold, and I'm going to divide that by the number of students. Right? So if I were to do this, my total number, I totaled them up and I got 76 stickers were sold, and there are 4 students. So you guys probably know that this fraction sign right here is also a division sign. It's the same thing as this, right? I remember when I finally figured that out, that fractions were division. It blew my mind. So this is like a number here and a number here. And this is just a division sign. So that means this is going to look like this. Da, da, da. It's the exact same thing. So if I'm dividing 4 into 7, that goes 1 time. And that goes like this. Right? And we're going to have 2. This is our 10s. This is our 1s. We're going to subtract. We get 36. And now we say 4 into 36 goes 9 times. So our answer is the average is 19, right? And we could, if we wanted to check our work using little blocks, we could use little blocks to do that. If you wanted to count out 76 blocks, you could. And we've just divided them into 4 groups, the blocks into 4 groups, and we get 19 stickers. Each person would have 19 stickers. Would have sold 19. Okay? So, we're going to look at number 2, right? So let's flip over and look at number 2. And I'm going to go like this and just write number 2 in the box. Okay. So if I do number 2, I have a farmer has 5 dogs. So I'm going to make a little chart. I know it doesn't have the chart in the book, but I'm going to make a little chart. The farmer has 5 dogs. And so dog A, so dog A, B, C, D, and E, right? Because there are 5 dogs. So if I have those 5 dogs and it's saying that one dog is 28 pounds, these are all bigger than my little yappers. One's 34, one's 56, one's 42, and one's a big whopper at 60 pounds, right? So we're going to find the average. So we're going to find the total weight of the dogs. Right? And that's going to be over, how many dogs do we have? 5, right? So we're going to divide by 5 because we have 5 dogs. So let's just find the total really quickly. So all that number 2 is asking us to do is find the total of the 5 dogs. So we're going to take 28 plus 34, 56 plus 42, and then we're going to add 60, the last number to that. Okay? So if I add 8 plus 4, I get 2, 12, right? And I regroup, and that's going to give me 62. 2 plus 6 is 8. No regrouping necessary. And 5 plus 4 is 9. And then we're adding 60 onto there. So I would prefer to just have 62 and then add 0 to 8. And I'm going to get 158 when I do that. And then when I add them together, I get 8 plus 2. Regroup. 6 plus 5 is 11, plus 1 is 12. Regroup. So I get 220 pounds. Okay. Another way, you can always stack them and add them this way too. I just prefer to add them horizontally because I know that that's faster for me. So the total weight of all the dogs is 220 pounds. And that's what we do when we find the average, we find the total. Now we're going to divide by 5. So in order to find the average or the mean weight, we take 220 pounds and we divide by 5 because there are 5 dogs, right? And when I do that, I get this. Voila. This is the exact same thing as this. Since I have hundreds, I'm going to have tens and ones when I divide. So 5 will not go into 2, right? So we put a 0 there. We subtract and we get 220. Now I'm in tens territory. 5 will go into 22. It goes 4 times. And that's 20. But it's not 20. It's 200. Then I subtract. And now 5 will go into 24 times. So my answer is 44 pounds. Okay. So the way we find the average or the mean is to total up all of the data and then divide by the number of pieces of data, right? So we have another problem over here. We did problem 3 and we have one last problem. Okay, let's look at this problem that they're telling us about. Gina had 4 tests last week. So this time we're thinking backwards. We know what the average is. We're going to find the total that's missing, right? Gina had 4 tests last week. Her mean or average score for the 4 tests was 82. What was the total score for the 4 tests? So we know that if the average was 82 and she took 4 tests, we can take 82 times 4 and that's going to tell us the total amount of points, right? So what they're doing is just now they're making you think backwards, right? So the total number or amount equals the average times the number of items. So now they're giving us another problem for problem 4. And they're saying May was on vacation for 5 days. She spent an average of $13 per day. So let's make her little vacation chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So she's on vacation. She spends $13 a day. An average of $13 a day. How much did she spend altogether in the 5 days? Well, if the average amount of money that she spent is 13, and that equals, remember we said that this is the total, so this is going to be the total, and this is going to be the number of days, is 5 days, then we can do the inverse operation of division, because we're missing the number right here. We can take these two numbers and multiply them together to get the total, right? So if I take 13 times 5, that's going to tell me my total. So 65 divided by 5 is going to tell us that the average is 13, right? So we basically just used the inverse operation of multiplication. We knew the average, but we wanted to know the total number. So we took 13 plus 13 plus 13 plus 13 plus 13 was 65 divided by 5 days. Okay? So the formula for finding the average, let's write it down one last time. We're going to say average. Sometimes the average is called the mean in some math books. And this equals the total. And this is the number of groups. Or the number of pieces of data, right? And that's how we find the average. All right? So I hope you learned a little bit today about finding the average of a number. We're going to do more figuring out the average. You'll do more in our lesson in class. Okay, so we'll figure out, we're going to do a lesson in class, lesson 5.1, where we actually find the average of some problems. Okay, so I hope this helped you understand a little bit more about average. Thanks for joining me, and I will talk to you later.